So I think you all probably know how this goes. I'm going to just go through this quickly. We have a Happy Hour for Hope YouTube channel that has all the recordings from our past gatherings. We also have a Facebook page, a Facebook group where I share news and information and good stuff about upcoming guests and just good news going on in the world. And this is the 1 year anniversary of this thing.
Yay!
Yay!
Cheers.
I think it's another anniversary too, isn't it?
It is another anniversary. Jennifer and I met 10 years ago. We were in a 3-day leadership workshop, and this was one of those workshops where you go very deep and you share a lot of your inner life with each other. And so we had a lot of conversations, and as we talked, we started to spend more and more time together. And so I don't think either one of us got to know many of the other people in that workshop. Were there any other people there, honey?
Not that we noticed, but of course, it was way into me from the beginning. It took me a day or so to catch on. But then I drove him to the airport and declared, I sealed the deal because I made the first move.
In the car?
But then, yes, I told him that, so I wanted to play it safe. So I said, it's too bad you live in Michigan because you're the kind of guy I should be dating because we have really good energy. So I figured that way, if he wasn't into me, he could say, yeah, it is too bad I live in Michigan. And if he was into me, he could say, well, I don't want to freak you out or anything, but I think you could be the woman of my dreams, which is literally what he said. So I tried not to wreck the car into the Jersey barrier. I know exactly where we were on 270 when he said,
Wait, Jennifer, I need to take some notes here. Wait.
We stopped and had a drink at the airport. There's a little bar by the airport. I said, do you want to get a drink? He said, yes. And it came time to take him to his flight. And I said, it's time for me to take you to the airport. And he goes, well, I'm thinking about blowing off my flight and staying for the weekend. How do you feel about that? And I said, well, great. But remember, I have a date in 10 minutes, which I did. He drove me home. I changed for my date. He got a hotel room, took me to my date. It was the fastest date in history. Together ever since. 6 months later, moved from Michigan, and we shacked up, and 2 years after that, we were married. So there's our whole life story. Cheers.
So good.
That's wonderful.
So sorry, I digress. I took over, honey. I will.
That's all right, honey. You take over anytime you want. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So we are drinking some sparkling red wine from Michigan. You wouldn't think of good wine when you think of Michigan, but damn it, there's some good wine in Michigan. So we are enjoying a little Mauby red. And is anyone else having a little sip? What do you got there, Andrew? Looks like maybe gin.
Just a gin and tonic.
Mm-hmm. It's already the weather for it, isn't it? I love those in hot weather. Well, so it's 10 years today. And
Wow.
Going back to this. So we have this Facebook page. Here's the tally so far. These are all the different organizations that we've given to in the last year, kind of focusing on, COVID relief, social and racial justice, climate change, and kind of in general, lifting people up. And we've given over $8,000 in this last year. And so thanks to you for your contributions. Thank you so much.
Awarding room.
If you want to make a contribution, all you have to do is go to happyhourhope.com, and it looks like this. And you'll see right up there, kind of in the upper right, there's a donate button. You click on that, it takes you to this. and you can buy a drink. And unfortunately, I don't deliver a drink to you, but that's your contribution. So thank you, Dan, for putting the link in the chat. Dan's my man. We had a good morning, didn't we, Dan?
We did have a good morning. Yep, we...
Tell us about it, Dan.
Oh, by golly, I'm glad you asked. So Andrew and I are both members of, and John, anybody else? No, Andrew, John, and I, and a number of other magicians are all members of a group called Magic on Purpose. Andrew brought us all together. We're all magicians who use magic for more than entertainment. And this morning, 3 of us did a half-day workshop for the staff of the Ontario Hospital Association. So these are people who have been run ragged over the last 15 months trying to help all the folks in all the hospitals throughout our very, very large province. So we had a nice morning of resilience skills training. And
yes, Dan. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
When we finished, we began drinking.
Well, yeah,
No.
That's what I was going to say. I finished. I had 2 beers and slept for 2 hours.
What were you going to say, though?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Resilience.
Yes, that's right. Resilience skills. Self-care a little bit.
We highly recommend self-medication. Well, and we have Dan to thanks for bringing us into that, because it was his client, and it didn't have to be a Magic on Purpose opportunity, but he brought in 2 of his colleagues, and that really was wonderful. So thank you for that. So tonight, the focus of our contributions is to the Di Vernon Foundation. And, I'm going to let John, if you would, John, tell us about this organization. And since we have just a bunch of muggles here, if you could tell them about Di Vernon, maybe.
I will do that. One thing I want to ask all of you, I will be doing one magic illusion for you, and it requires some interaction. So I need you all to grab a book. I don't care what book it is. Grab a book near you, and when we get to that part, you'll be opening to a random page and putting it right against the camera so I can read some words out of the book. Di Vernon is considered one of the most prolific magicians of all time. He has had a residency at the Magic Castle in Hollywood for many years. He is affectionately known as the Professor, and he inspired a lot of wonderful magicians and magic, and he had his own set of couches at the Magic Castle that he would come and sit with and perform for audiences, and they would come and enjoy his magic. And he was an amazing man. He died in 1982 of old age. He was like 98 years old. But the Di Vernon Foundation is a charitable arm of the Magic Castle, which supports magicians in their time of need. Mostly if they're having any kind of health issues, the Di Vernon Foundation provides assistance to magicians. So that's what it's near and dear to my heart, because many of my most recent friends are magicians at the Magic Castle. Since before the pandemic, I would be there 4 to 5, 6 nights a week performing. So,
gosh, John, what is the Magic Castle?
So the Magic Castle, thank you very much, Dan. The Magic Castle is a private club for members and their guests in the heart of Hollywood, California. It was an old mansion that was built in 1908 by the Lane family, and it went through many generations of different things from a residence to an old folks home, so forth. And right before it was going to be torn down, two gentlemen named Milt and Bill Larson, who worked in the entertainment industry in LA, their dad had a dream of building a private club for magicians. And so they made a deal with the owner of the property for free rent for a year if they could convert it into a magic venue. And they did it. And it's been known as the Academy of Magical Arts or Magic Castle ever since. It opened on January 3rd, 1963. So it's about 10,000 square feet of different sized rooms with close-up magic and stage magic and parlor magic and 5 bars and a ghost named Irma who takes requests and plays the piano. It's a wonderful place. And if any of you guys find yourself in LA with some free time, hit me up, and I can certainly send you Dan and I, we're both members, so we can provide you for a guest pass. It's an evening you will not forget. And it's very exclusive. You have to either be a member or know a member to be invited. So.
And John, how do you become a member?
Well, there are two types of members. There's associate members and magician members. The details are at the magiccastle.com website, but basically to become an associate member, you put your name on a list, and when they start accepting applications again, they'll reach out to you. You do need to be sponsored by a member, so they want to make sure that you're not some riffraff off the street. But once you pay your dues, you're allowed to become a member, and dues are in the neighborhood of associate members. I think it's the initiation's about $5,000, and then it's like $2,000 a year to become a member of this exclusive club. To become a magician member, you pay dues, but significantly lower dues, but you have to audition. And depending upon if you have the skills as a magician, you may pass the first time. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to pass. But once you do, you become a member, and then you're a member for as long as you continue to pay your yearly dues. So the Magic Castle closed on March 3rd, I think it was March 3rd of 2020 because of the pandemic, and is only recently opening now. So I'm very happy about that.
And Dan, did you ever do anything special at the Magic Castle at all? You, Katie, did you ever do anything special at the Magic Castle?
Yeah, John mentioned Irma, the ghost, who plays the piano at the Magic Castle, and we got married in Irma's parlor, and Irma played the music at the wedding.
Not a very special place for you at all, then, Dan.
Yeah.
and just in case you were wondering, when they say Irma is a ghost, there's a piano in the parlor, but there's no one sitting there, and it's playing, and she plays. I've never heard her stumped.
No.
Like, you name a song, you just say it out loud in the room. I've heard people say fight songs from different colleges, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 she plays it.
And not only that, you can have full conversations with her in song. So if you can ask her how the weather is, and she plays an appropriate song. Ask her about anything in the room, and she'll play a song about it. It'll stretch your music knowledge to know sometimes what her answer means. But it means that.
She can play Beethoven to Lady Gaga. She is an amazing artist. Her favorite song is "You're in the Money." So,
right. She has an invisible bird.
A little bird cage right next to her piano with Katie, her pet ghost bird, and Katie accepts all of the tips for Irma. So, but it's a wonderful place.
It's a very special place. Very, very special place. It's kind of considered Mecca for magicians all over the world. I have not joined the Magic Castle yet. I went for the Magic Circle in London because I'm snobbier. Well, you did quite well in your exam, young man. So I'm happy to report, John, that for the Di Vernon Foundation, we already have, thanks to the generosity of some of our guests tonight, we already have $115 in the kitty
great.
to start us off with.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Well, I am having some challenges with audio, but I'm going to try this anyway because I asked John to choose a song that would be a nice segue into his official part of the program. And so we're going to give this a try. Bear with me because it's a fun song. I don't want to miss this.
Abracadabra, I'm an abracadandy. I make it a habit to keep a rabbit handy. I'm a magic man, a showman, a magician. It's not a hobby, it's a constant condition. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? Heading home in my magic mobile. It's fueled on sparkles with magic appeal. When the traffic's bad, it levitates. I really don't like getting home too late. Dinner time, enough said. I'll hypnotize this loaf of bread. Presto, changeo, it's lasagna. I drooled. Did I get any on you? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? If I need to step out for some air, my magic box can just take me there. No hat! No bother. I'll just conjure up another. Look at the time on the magic clock. I must take my rabbits out for a walk. If they don't exercise, they don't fit in my hat. It ruins the show if you can imagine that. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? My magical skills are magnificent, mysterious. Would you like a demonstration? I'm assuming you're curious. I can escape from this box, make an elephant vanish, make it reappear, completely fluent in Spanish. Hola. I can remove this garbage before it starts stinking. I know that's not magic, but it's practical thinking. I can transform this mouse into a cat. Okay, I admit I'm still working on that, but I can make it rain, teach a pigeon how to skate. Pardon me a minute, I have to levitate. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the magic?
That was amazing.
I love that song. You've never heard that before, Dan?
No, I've never heard that.
Oh, it's wide open there.
It's great.
Yeah, that's how did you find that song, John?
Oh, I was performing at the council during a Halloween week, and I just wanted something really fun, and I Googled magic songs, and it was one of the ones that came up, and I was like, that's it. That's the one.
It's very fun. I think we have a Magic on Purpose theme song.
It starts with abracadabra.
Yeah, it does. It's great. So that's the official welcome of John Kippen, ladies and gentlemen. John, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it is my pleasure, Andrew. You know that.
So John and I met about 4 years ago. I was visiting the castle, and I took a group that I'm a member of. I took their board of directors to the castle for the evening. And we had just had an amazing evening. We ate dinner in the Houdini room. As we were leaving, this guy walks up to us and he says, "Would you guys like to see something?" And we said, "Of course." And he gave us this magical experience. And it was amazing. And one of the other guys who is also a member of Magic on Purpose wasn't formed at the time, but one of the other guys who was with us, we had taken a bus over to the castle. With the whole way back, we talked about this illusion and how the hell did he do that? And it just blew our minds. So little did I know that was John Kippen. I didn't know who this guy was. And then about a year ago, John and I connected. and we started talking, and I told him about Magic on Purpose, and John told me about his work and his sense of purpose. And, it was a foregone conclusion. And so he's made Magic on Purpose better for his presence. John has a very, very beautiful heart and soul, and it shows when he's interacting with people. It's just a wonderful experience. And John, I thought maybe if it's okay with you, if we would start with the documentary.
Yeah, it'll give a little background of kind of my journey, why my face is paralyzed, and kind of it's a really good representation of who I am as a human being. So, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is new and hasn't officially been released, isn't that right, John?
You're getting a preview.
So this is a preview.
Yeah, that's good.
I was born on July 4th, 1965, to two great parents, my mom, Fran, and my dad, Hal. They were both attorneys. My grandma was important in my life, and I would visit her almost every weekend. One day, there was a knock at the door. It was my Uncle Milton. He was a professional magician in New York. He always had a trick with him. He started out with the old coin from behind the ear. He showed me rope tricks, a couple simple tricks. From that moment on, he realized that I loved magic. Every year on my birthday, I'd get a gift from my Uncle Milton, and it'd be a new trick. I'd go over to Grandma's, and we'd work on that trick together. In middle school, I spent all of my free time at a local magic shop. Growing up, a lot of kids thought I was different. They called me names and they beat me up. And my dad would just take me aside and say, John, life's not going to be easy, and you're going to have obstacles that you need to conquer. It was difficult, but I've learned how to be a creative problem solver. I started at Cal State Northridge as a theater major. I had built a pretty successful computer consulting company. I was dating, and I was having a lot of fun. Then it all stopped. I woke up and I had this really loud ringing in my left ear. I mean, it was loud. And it wasn't the kind of thing that would go away in 10 seconds. Now I had trouble hearing men's voices on the phone. I was dizzy. I made an appointment with a couple different internists.
John, I'm going to play a tone. When you stop hearing it, put your hand up.
I don't hear anything. I was laying there for almost an hour, not being able to move in this claustrophobic tube.
You have a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor. It's displacing your brainstem and slowly killing you.
I don't even know what just happened. Did he really just say he had to do brain surgery on me?
I've known John for 18 years. I felt confident that he had good doctors and that he would be able to survive the surgery and would come out of it okay.
I was scared. My senses were at 100%. I could feel the temperature. I can feel the thoughts going through my mind. I noticed every little everything.
Anybody would be terrified that they would lose something that would make it impossible to be who they were still.
John, are you there? Can you hear us? John.
As I woke up in recovery, I saw my mom and dad sitting there, and I realized that my dad was smiling, but my mom was horrified. I had lost the smile that she so loved to look at. I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself, and I was horrified. I had these half-inch staples going the full length of the incision, just like Frankenstein. I found myself not wanting to have photos taken of me. I avoided looking in mirrors. I found myself not socializing with people, not going out, not partying, not doing anything really fun. The question to the doctor was, so when's my face going to move again?
Be patient, John. Just be patient.
He was left with a paralysis and a disfigurement that was starting to affect him as a man.
You know, adults normally didn't stare, but kids would stare all the time. So I turned to playing poker, because at a poker table, no one really cares what you look like. They just want your money. And so I was driving down to Hollywood Park in Inglewood, California, and playing live poker 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times a week. After playing poker for a couple years, I looked at my bank account and realized maybe this wasn't the best therapy for me. So I turned to my childhood love, magic.
The club opened on January 2nd, 1963. It's a home away from home for magicians from all over the world, where they could gather, befriend each other and chat and do tricks for each other and learn from each other. It's become the Mecca of magic.
I had been to the Magic Castle in Hollywood once before with my uncle. It was a very magical place, and I remember sitting next to my Uncle Milton in the close-up gallery, and he said, John, if you apply yourself, maybe one day you'll be sitting there and we'll all be watching you. So I joined as an associate member, and I go every Saturday and Sunday, and I would watch other magicians. And the more I watched, the more my love for magic came to the forefront.
He came up here bravely, just came up and sat down and started doing magic tricks. He found a table. See, you want to see a trick? Boom.
More.
And pretty soon, he got better.
So I focused then on putting together my audition. They were tricks that I had practiced since, I don't know how long. I had practiced as a kid, so I was pretty familiar with the workings and the sleight of hand. Once they told me I had passed my audition, first thing I did was run to the front desk to buy a gold member pin so I could be a proud member. The Magic Castle, it's such a brotherhood that magicians, no matter how famous they are willing to share their tricks and share their opinions to help you. It allowed me to learn so much quicker. When I first started doing magic after my brain tumor, I was still self-conscious about my face. And as I did more close-up magic, I started to realize that audiences focused on my magic and my deformity disappeared. Magic became my way of coping with my self-confidence issues. I joined the castle as a magician in 2006, but in 2002, guys, I had a brain tumor. Yeah, and when they cut out my head, they traumatized my facial nerve, hence the paralyzed face.
The more his abilities shine, the more he dares to come out, the less I see of his face.
Or side, I like it.
And I think that happens when I watch the audiences when he performs. He illuminates them.
The more I performed, the more I liked myself, and the more I felt comfortable with who I was. and the audience reactions were amazing. But there was a gap of about 12 years where there was not one photo of me, because anytime I had the opportunity to have a photo, I would always shy away. I would zip into the bathroom or go do something else because I didn't want to be photographed, because I didn't like the way I looked. August 4th, 2017, I was at my first magic convention, and I said, screw it. I want to take selfies with these guys. So I stopped worrying about what I looked like and started taking photos with Penn Jillette and Teller and Chris Kenner, Jeff McBride, and Joshua J. And when I got home, as I looked through that, I realized I didn't have to be ashamed about it anymore.
There's more demand to work here than you can possibly imagine.
It took about 10 years of working on routines and getting my skill set and my stories good enough when the director of entertainment at the Magic Castle said that he was going to book me in the close-up gallery.
Please put your hands together for John Kippen.
So every Sunday, Mom, Dad, and I would get together and we'd play board games. Now, my favorite game was Monopoly. One Sunday, Susie, I had all the money. I said, Mom, come on. I want to spend the Monopoly money. That they thought that was cute, minus the whining, right? But I reminded my mom and dad I was a magician, right? So really all I had to do is just, wow. Wow. Is that all you can say is wow? That's the exciting part for me, is making it identify with who I am and my life experiences. One of my favorite TV shows of all time, but I am going to show my age with this a little bit. They're a part of the magic. Would you mind if I call you Captain Sylvia? And that creates an amazing connection between me and the audience. Do me a favor, add your name or phone number, something useful. What are you missing? 9 of clubs.
What?
Wait, that's 9 of clubs. That was your card. Yes. It's an adrenaline rush and the exhilaration of entertaining an audience and making that connection. Now this envelope is sealed and notarized. Me too.
Wow.
I know, you couldn't take that 9 of clubs anywhere, I'm telling you. I'm telling it, yeah, it's got a cheesy, and it doesn't rub off and everything.
He did a trick that made me cry from amazement. I had my card like this, and tears welled up in my eyes because I knew that he was going to guess my card, and it was just impossible.
Show everybody the 6 of hearts, please. The Queen of Clubs. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my show. It was an amazing week of performances. It made me feel that I've accomplished the impossible. Any of us here could be in my position, or even worse off in an instant. Now, I hope that's not true of you. But let it remind you to treat people who are different with the respect and compassion you would ask for yourself, and create momentum to make the world a slightly better place. I had a couple good magician friends commit suicide. So I made a promise to myself that if I ever saw anyone hurting, I would take a moment and just be present.
My mother, sister, and my aunt and I carry the BOCA1 gene. We all got double mastectomies. You reminded me I am more than this gene. That is invaluable. So thank you. I really do appreciate that.
I started to understand that I was able to communicate on a much deeper level because of what I went through with my tumor and my facial paralysis.
I got blood cancer. Meeting John took my mind completely off being sick, showed me tricks, and I'm just going unbelievable. By the time I got in the car to go home, I go, boy, man, I'm going to beat this thing like a hat trick.
It was an amazing feeling for me to know that my story, through my magic, could cause someone to feel like they could accomplish the impossible.
I got to call John back 9 months later and said, man, I'm in remission.
One parting word of advice. If you ever find yourself sitting across a card table with me, you might want to reconsider. Not only am I a good magician, but I have a great poker face.
And of course, Uncle Milton. What'd you think, folks? Isn't that wonderful? I
That's
hear
great.
someone yelling, "I love it" from upstairs.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, John.
It was a lot of hard work, but it was well worth it to get my message out.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Inspiring, says Nancy. John, I think the thing that strikes me is, and for all of you, John, I mean, it probably goes without saying at this point that John is an incredible magician. He's an incredible magician. And there aren't a lot of magicians in the world, but you know, there's a fair amount. What makes John special is his heart and his connection to people. And I think because of what he's been through, the genuineness, the sincerity with which he interacts with people, even when he's performing. A lot of magicians use volunteers like props, and I have to confess that I have done that myself. And John instead treats people with respect and just has fun with them. So, John, can you tell us? You know, one of the things I'm curious about is at what point did things change for you? Like, when did things shift for you that you started thinking about how you could help others? Was there?
You know, I was performing at the Magic Castle, and there was another magician who seems like you're spotlighted. I'm not seeing myself when. Are you still spotlighted, Andrew?
No, you're, let me spotlight you just to make sure.
We can see it.
Okay. I was just having trouble seeing myself. So basically there was a time where I had put together an act, and it was pretty good. And another magician who was, had been doing a lot longer came up and said, John, I have a suggestion for you. And I said, what's that? And he said, make the magic about the spectator and not so much about you. And a light bulb went off and made me realize that I had been doing that. I had been making it about myself and not the person I was doing magic for. And I went home that night and stayed up all night redoing my entire act so that everything was about the spectator. And I came back the next day, and the reactions with the audience were so much better because I became the conduit to make the magic happen, but the magic happened when the spectators did something. And that was really where I started to understand that connection that I was making between the audience, and that I was able to get them out of their head for 20 or 30 minutes and get them laser focused, because now I was able to, you know, put them on this pedestal. That really changed the way I looked at magic, and I realized there was a higher purpose of doing magic. You know, the woman in my documentary named Billy, her actual name is Darren, but she didn't want that out on the documentary. But she was at the castle one night, and she was dressed all in black and wearing a hat that reminded me of a witch's hat. And she was walking down one of the hallways, and I saw her, and as she approached, I said, "Hi, how are you?" And she stopped, and she looked at me with this look that said, "Just leave me alone." And then she continued walking to catch up with her friends. And so I sensed there was something going on with her that I didn't know what it was, but that she was not present. She was not having a good time. So I caught up with the group and I asked them if they like to see some close-up magic, and brought them to a table, and I made Darren the star. And within 2 minutes, all of a sudden her posture changed and she started smiling, and she ditched the hat. I could see a sparkle in her eyes, and she started to smile. Whatever baggage she had brought with her to the castle that night was gone. And after the show, normally audiences get up and they go away, and this group just sat there wanting more. So I shared the story about my journey that I had hid from cameras and mirrors for over 12 years because I didn't like the way I looked in a photograph. And that it was magic, going to a magic convention, seeing all these great magicians who made me realize that my face no longer defined me, that I was something larger than my facial deformity. And all of a sudden she stood and she grabbed me and gave me one of these hugs that you don't soon forget. And after a few minutes or a few seconds, she stood back and she said, "John, I want to share something with you. I had a double mastectomy 4 years ago because I have the BRCA1 gene, and my mom, my aunt, my sister all had their breasts prematurely removed, and she was the last in the family to do so." And when I was listening to your story, it made me realize that I've been doing the same thing. I've been hiding. And I think you just shaved 8 years off my journey. And when I heard that, I was totally overwhelmed. And I sat back down. She excused herself and went to the bathroom because she had been crying. And one of her friends was sitting there and her mouth was wide open. She said, "John, you don't understand what just happened. We've known Darren for 5, 6, 7 years, and we've been trying to support her since she made the choice to have the surgery. And you did in 30 minutes what we've been trying to do for 4 years." And when I realized that being authentic with my story and showing how it affected me and how I was able to overcome it by finding whatever I was passionate about and demonstrating that, allowed her and the other gentleman, his name was Ron Carmichael, who fought cancer. The night I met him, he had told his friends that he was diagnosed that morning with blood cancer and he was not going to fight it. And when I heard that, I made it my mission that night just to be with him and share my story, to see if maybe there was some way where I could give him a little hope. And that night he went home and told his wife, "Sign me up for whatever surgeries and treatments." And eight months later, he called me to say he was in remission. So it's just, I don't know. I'm just maybe a little more sensitive to people who are suffering with some kind of ailment or depressed or in a bad mood, because I've kind of learned how to cope with my demons. But that's why I go to the Magic Castle every chance I get, to just sit there and perform for audiences. I've probably done, in the last 5 to 6 years, over 6,000 30-minute shows. And thank you. And it's just my way of feeling normal. You know, my platform is called "Being Different is Your Superpower." And there's so much truth to that, because all of us go through traumas in our lives, whether or not they show up on your face or not. But once you learn how to accept yourself for who you are, despite those challenges, it kind of brings joy to your life. And it allows you to feel free to be who you are and be authentic with friends and family. And the improved relationships are amazing. And so that's kind of my message, is to, you know, to find those tools within yourself to say, I don't care that I got a big nose, or I'm balding, or I have facial paralysis, or I'm overweight. That doesn't define me. What defines me is my life experiences and my reason for being, my dreams. And once you accept all of those shortcomings, magic happens, doors open. And the relationships that I've been able to create with my friends like Andrew and Dan and others are lifelong, long lasting. It's amazing. You know, I wake up in the morning now with a sense of purpose and a hope that maybe when someone's going through a bad time in their lives, they see me and they get inspired, because it's happened dozens and dozens of times. And I don't know, it's just a lesson to all of us that we all are unique people and we all have something to give and share with others. And if you do it in an authentic manner, people are going to receive that love and they're going to know that you're not out for yourselves, that you're really just trying to make them happier. So that's kind of, you know, who I am and what I've been trying to do. So it's been an amazing couple years.
Thank you, John. I know that you wanted to share a little something with us, and you asked us to get a book.
Yeah, so anybody here who wants to partake, I'll need you guys to grab a book. And in a moment, I'm going to take Nancy. Actually, Nancy, do you have a pad or paper and a pen? Great. If you could all unmute yourselves, please.
Okay.
And then Nancy, what I'm going to do is, oh yes, all right. So Nancy, as everybody takes they're going to take the book and they're going to open it to a random page, and I'm going to go through the gallery view one at a time, and I'm going to pick out a few words out of the pages that I see, and I'm going to say them out loud. And Nancy, what I'm going to want you to do is I'm going to want you to remember one of those words and write that word down. You don't have to write them all down, but whatever word that I say out loud, I want you to, you know, think about it and then write that word down. But I don't want you to show that word to anybody. Understand, Nancy?
Understand.
Great. So if you could all now go ahead and take the book, open it up to a random page, and put it right against the camera so that I can see. I'm going to have to zoom in here. So I see distance. I see important. Speaking. Operate. Respectively. Disprove. Oh, okay. Expression. Respiration. Salesperson. Impersonal. Trampolines. And what is that? Personality. Great. Everyone close your books and put them aside. So, Nancy, did you remember one of those words?
Yes, I did.
And you wrote it down?
Yes.
Okay. So, hold the paper up so no one can see the word, just that's going to be the proof of word. Great. So, don't show the word, though. Don't show the word to anybody. So, I want you to think of the word. Imagine there's a little blackboard and you're writing the word down. Got it?
Yes.
So there's a P in the word.
Yes.
And an E.
Yes.
I'm seeing an R.
Yes.
I'm seeing an S.
Yes.
I'm seeing an O.
No.
No O.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It looked like the E looked like an O. Okay.
You're right. That's probably the way I wrote it.
No worries. No worries. Is the word respectively?
Yes, it is.
You want to show everybody that you wrote respectively? Put that to the camera. Respectively.
Oh.
It was doctor's handwriting. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries.
I wish I'd taken a screenshot of Snow's face. It was this.
Oh, we'll go back to the recording and screenshot it.
We'll go back to the recording. I'll send it to you, Snow. Amazing.
Man, this is so
amazing.
Much fun.
And isn't it great that he can do this over video? Everybody gets a front row seat, and it's impossible. But I think that's, in a way, that's part of your message, right, John? Is that what seems impossible is possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you be open for some questions? I don't know if people have questions or would like to share anything. Thoughts, comments, reflections, anything that kind of bubbles to the surface for you folks?
Everybody's quiet.
Quite a story.
Oh,
yeah, I'm so glad, John, that you found your place and yourself.
Only took me 55 years, but
yeah, well,
it took you so.
Don't find it at all. So
I get that. It takes a long time.
Yes, it does. It can. So I
thank you.
Support. Yeah, it's.
Thanks for what you're doing.
I'm sorry.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned that your mother, when you woke up, your mom was sad that your smile was gone. Tell me, how did your mom progress through this afterwards as well?
You know, it was I'm very close to my parents. They both since passed, but I was an only child, and so we would have dinner together every day. They were both attorneys. My mom was the first woman public defender in Los Angeles, and my dad had a private practice, and so every night at dinner we would have a family dinner. So we were very, very close. But my mom was the type to hide her feelings. She was very reserved. But you know, she was so supportive of me that she healed quicker than I did with regards to the face. You know, the surgeon gave me promises that movement would come back eventually, and they were wrong. And I don't know if that was because they were lying to me or if they truly believed that my facial weakness would disappear to an extent. Funny story, so last Sunday I was performing at the Magic Castle live for the first time since the pandemic in 14 months, and I was at a table outdoors. And this woman came up and sat next to me, and I didn't remember her and met her, and she's looking at me a little funny, which I get from time to time. And she said, "Acoustic aroma?" And then, of course, that's the brain tumor I had. So I said, "Yes." She said, "House Ear Clinic?" And that's the facility that I was operated on downtown LA. I went, "Yes." "Dr. Friedman?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was my surgeon." And she said, "I thought that was you." And I'm like, "Huh?" She said, "Yeah, I was in your operating room. I was the woman monitoring the facial impulses, the electrical activity going to your face during surgery." And that was in 2002. So nearly 20 years ago. And I was there at, you know, there were only 30 people at the castle that night, and she happened to be one of them and recognized me and just. So I gave her my information and hoping she'll reach out because I have some questions about what was going on during the surgery to, you know, cause my facial paralysis to be permanent. But just really weird timing. Yeah.
And that was you seated outside the castle. That was pretty special, right, John? I mean,
yeah,
they're not performing in the castle yet.
I had been bugging the powers that be the minute that they were reopening up. They didn't have any entertainment indoors other than a video presentation because of COVID requirements. That I would set up a table outside and donate my time and volunteer to just perform magic because it's, again, my therapy. It's what I do to feel normal and to connect with people and bring joy to people and bring joy to myself. And so I was allowed to perform last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'll be doing it again this weekend because it fuels, it fuels me. It's one of my quotes is feed your heart with your art. And it is so true that whatever you're passionate about, if you let that into your heart, people will recognize that almost immediately and see you in your best behavior and your best your best mood when you're doing what you love, and that really comes across.
Yeah, so it's good for you and good for the people that you touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we are at our official end time. And so I want to ask you, John, if you would be open to staying after, sometimes people like to hang out. So we'll call that overtime if you can stick around because John, I want to ask you in overtime if you would share the In-N-Out burger story. We can talk about anything, but I love that story.
Sure.
Just a quick reminder that if you want to contribute to the Di Vernon Foundation to help magicians who are struggling, and this has been a hell of a year, as you can imagine, for performers. This last 15 months has been very, very difficult. And so if you'd like to make a contribution, just visit happyhourhope.com. And I also want to say that magicians, 2 months in a row, our friend Dr. Will Houston is going to be with us in July. And Will is a new member of Magic on Purpose. He's from London. He's the editor of the Magic Circular, which is the journal of the Magic Circle. He's a magician, author, lecturer, consultant. He's done some amazing work with the Physicians College of London using magic in physical therapy. And so Will has helped people use magic to improve people's lives who are struggling physically, mentally, emotionally. He's done some amazing things, and he's a hell of a magician. So I hope you can join us on July 8th for Will Houston. So thanks for coming, everybody. Like I said,
Andrew,
if you can stick around.
This is Sue. Yeah. Andrew, this is Sue. Thank you. And I'll join you next month, God willing.
It's so great to see you, Sue. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you for having us. And John, thank you for your wonderful story.
Thank you, Sue. So my In-N-Out story, Andrew.
Wait, super quick before you tell the story. I need to know: have you met Mr. Piffles?
Oh yes, I have.
Have you gotten to hug him?
I have.
Hold him.
Yes.
I love Mr. Piffles.
He's over my left.
You guys ever watch America's Got Talent and the dragon? The magician is a dragon, but the best part of his whole act is Mr. Piffles, that little dog that's over his shoulder. So.
Yes.
Just curious. Okay, now you can tell your story.
Both Tim and Mr. Pimble signed that poster.
He did. Wow, he's a talented little dog.
In my presence. There's a little paw print on there of Mr. Piffles.
Cool.
Is there really?
Yeah.
You do a little ink thing or something?
Yeah. He does that.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly going to hang around, but John, I have a magic trick for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And I'm not a magician. I can see you're going to have a heck of a year ahead of you. And here's why. You know, I just finished a call, 480 people. Haven't been to the office in 16 months, dying to get out there. Now, I've had to go in and out to sign and do all my line of work, whatever. And I got to tell you, you sit there and you go through and you're trying to get folks to feel up regarding the surroundings around them, right? And I always talk about, Andrew knows this to nauseam, the gift of perspective. In other words, where you see is what you sit, right? And so if you think really working at home is really that god awful, let me tell you, I had the great privilege of having teams internationally. And I've had folks that would work and they would commute, and this is not exaggeration, over 6 hours to get to work because they had to go to special transport sites. And if you were female, you'd have special security duty to get to your sites. And when you tell folks like this, all of a sudden they just go, and that's what you're giving for us. So thank you very much. And I can almost guarantee that your message will resonate probably more than it has ever.
Appreciate that. Really do.
Sure.
Yeah. Just finding ways of getting my message out there and getting people to invite me to speak. That's the journey that I'm on now. So
happy to help.
That's awesome. Thank you. One of my traditional tricks I do when I'm doing close-up is I have someone sign a playing card, and usually I ask what their favorite playing card is, and I take it out of the deck and they sign it, and then the card does mysterious things. Ends up in a sealed envelope inside of a wallet in my jacket pocket. And this one night, it was a Monday night at the Magic Castle, and it was a little on the slow side, so around 10 o'clock I decided to go home. But before I had a chance to go, 6 really attractive ladies came to the table and sat down. So I stayed, of course. This is before I started talking about my facial paralysis and my tumor in my act. So at the end of my show, they said, John, we're med students from UCLA. We got a personal question. I said, shoot. They asked me what had happened to my face. So I told them about the brain tumor, and being med students, they wanted the details. They wanted to know how big it was it cancerous or benign, how long was the surgery, how long was the recovery. I'm getting grilled by 6 attractive ladies, so I'm having a good time. And we're talking. Then one of the managers taps me on the shoulder and says, John, it's 1 a.m. It's time to go. So they say their goodbyes, and as they were heading down the hallway to leave the castle that night, I overheard one of them say to the other, can we stop by the In-N-Out Burger on Sunset on the way back to UCLA? They were all UCLA, and for those Midwesterns who don't have In-N-Outs, or back Easterns who don't have In-N-Outs, it's a great fast food drive-through place. So the woman who had signed the card in that performance, her name is Brittany, and she inside the 8 of Club. So I ran out the back of that castle and got my car, and I waited for them. And sure enough, about 5 minutes later, they come out of the front of the castle, they get in their car, and they start driving, and I follow them. They don't see me. But sure enough, they go right towards the In-N-Out Burger on Sunset. So I get in the line right behind the drive-thru, and I get up to the window to place my order, and I hand the lady behind the window a $10 bill for her trouble. And I say, do me a favor, run over there and put their 8 of Clubs in their In-N-Out bag. So, of course, they drive home, I drive home. The next morning, I woke up to a post on my Facebook page. What the bleep? How did you get our 8 of Clubs in the In-N-Out bag? Well, they must tell that story all the time, because about 4 or 5 years later, I'm having lunch with a friend at a little sushi bar. And the sushi bar is very intimate, and all the tables are on top of each other. But there's a guy and a girl next to me, and the guy's eyeing me like he knows me. And there's a lull in the conversation, and he reaches over and he says, this is going to sound really, really weird, but are you the In-N-Out magician? So he had heard the story from a friend of one of the girls who was there that night. And we heard me talking about magic and saw my face, put 2 and 2 together and said, that's got to be him. So I was going to change my stage name to the In-N-Out magician, but I thought with the Me Too movement, that might not go over so well. There's another effect I used to do before Uber and Lyft existed, where I would have someone sign a card, and then I would do a routine which needed to, I would predict 3 things. I would predict a 3-digit number, a playing card, and a state or a color or something else. And of course I can't mention the method, but at the end of the time, I've successfully predicted all three things. And normally the person who I asked to predict or think of a three-digit number would be the husband of the woman who signed the card. And so I say, sir, I need you to think of a random three-digit number. I got a great idea. Did you drive here tonight? And before Uber and Lyft, the answer was almost yes. Well, you must have a valet ticket number. So they would say, oh, I do. Well, no one pays attention to the last three digits of a valet ticket number, so we'll use those three numbers. So at the end of the routine, of course, I've successfully predicted what those three numbers were. So they go on the rest of the evening, and I slip downstairs to the valet, and I say, do me a favor, find car 124, and take his wife's signed card, put it on the driver's side makeup mirror behind the visor, and leave it there. So the next time they're going out on the town and she goes to fix her face, she drops the mirror and down floats her card. Yeah.
This is called the long game.
Yeah.
This is the long game. John is committed to the long game.
Yeah. Making the magical moment happen long after I disappear is one of my favorite things to do. It creates stories that will never stop being told. So my magic lives on beyond me.
Well, you know the weird thing, John. I don't even know how that happens.
If it had Brittany signed on it, I would be you freak me out.
All right, everybody.
All right, another quick story.
Another quick story. Yes.
It's one of my favorite stories because to accomplish so many other people had to get invested in the success of this trick. So I was at the castle one night on a Monday night performing, and this couple sits down, and I recognized him, but I couldn't put a name to the face. So after my show, the guy introduces himself as Paul Zerton. Now, Paul won America's Got Talent 2015.
Oh, I love this story.
As a ventriloquist. And so we were having a good time, and his fiance, who's also in his show in Planet Hollywood Hotel, was there along, and so I had her sign a card, and she signed the two hearts, and we left the castle together about 1 a.m., and they were literally going back to the hotel, take a nap, shower, change, and get to the airport because they had a rehearsal the next day at noon. And when his fiancee, Robin, got to the dressing room at the Planet Hollywood Hotel, she found her signed two of hearts on the makeup mirror in the dressing room. And he knew nothing about it. And I share the story because it's amazing. You know, I went home that night, I got the idea, I reached out, and I found out that Paul was represented by an agent in CAA New York, so I sent an email to the agent hoping I would go to sleep and wake up in the morning and he'd have some direction, something to help me, and I got up, there's nothing. And I Google some more, and I figure out that Planet Hollywood Entertainment is run by Harris Entertainment. So I find the name of the director of entertainment of Harris, and I call him. He answers his phone. I tell him my idea. He said, John, I love your idea, but I can't help you. Although we handle Planet Hollywood's entertainment, America's Got Talent has their own four-wall production. So, but here's the director's name and assistant's name and number, and maybe she can help. So I called the assistant, and she's some 20-something that just doesn't understand the significance of what I'm trying to do. So I'm not getting any love from her. But she goes and tells the director of the show. And the director loves the idea, so he tells her to call me back and help me. So she calls me back and says, okay, John, if you get the card to the box office, I'll have one of the crew take it down to the dressing room, put it on the mirror, and take a picture of it, and then we'll send you the picture. I'm like, great! But now I look at my watch. The rehearsal starts at noon, and I look at my watch, and it's 10 a.m. So I threw on some clothes, and I drove to our local regional airport called Burbank Airport. And this is one of the airports that you walk out on the tarmac, and there are these set of stairs that you climb to board the plane. And so I get to the counter-to-counter section. And I walk in, there's this guy behind a bulletproof glass, just the two of us. And I look at him and I tell him the story of what I'm trying to do. And I ask, you know, what is it going to take to get this card to Vegas? And he kind of looks around. All right, give me the card. And I slip the card through the slit in the bulletproof glass. And he puts it in an envelope, and he seals the envelope and writes a note, and he says, wait here. He turns around and goes through a double swinging doors out on the tarmac, and he climbs the stairs to a waiting Southwest jet and hands the envelope with the note to a stewardess. He comes down, the plane takes off. I get in my car, and for $50 I hire a courier to pick the envelope and the card up at the airport and drive it to the box office. I got there 10 minutes before the rehearsal started.
Unbelievable.
And it's funny, I don't tell this part often, I just remember it, is that I left the house so quickly, I had forgotten my ID. I had forgotten my wallet, so I had no cash and no ID. Try to send something on a plane without ID. Not gonna happen. But because I invested the success of this illusion into the hands of this poor guy behind the window at the counter-to-counter section of Burbank Airport, he probably risked his job and livelihood to fly that card from Burbank to Las Vegas.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's called the long game.
The long game.
John Kippen, the long game. I love those stories.
Oh, they're so much fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Just going such a distance to delight people, to give people an experience of just amazement and wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's enough to make you believe in magic. Okay, dear friends, I'm going to go have another glass of sparkling beverage with my wife. John, thank you so much.
Oh, this is amazing. This is so much fun.
I'm very grateful you're in my life, and thank you for blessing all of us tonight.